So just waiting until the stream comes on. I think it is starting up. Wonderful. So hello, welcome to a How to Code Well live stream. My name obviously is Peter Fisher. I've got a bit of an announcement that I would like to make regarding a new course that I've been working very hard on, and it's kind of ready. I mean, it's halfway built, so I thought I would talk about that and also talk about some other bits and pieces as well. If I go over to the Patreon page of How to Code Well, this is where I'm putting all of the new stuff before I release it to YouTube. If I go to the browser here, we've got a couple of stuff for the freelance series that we're doing. That they are already on Patreon. So we've got what to do when clients don't turn up, and we've got Think Like a Client. And I believe there's two others. There's passive advertising, and there's also Go with the Flow. So these are videos for freelance month. So they've already been on Patreon for a while. But I've been also working on some other courses, some programming courses. As you may or may not know, I already have a Symfony course that I'm currently doing at the moment, and yes, today's tutorial will be going live pretty much after this live stream, but so far we're on the fifth tutorial, which is parameter injection. So that's going to go out later on today. So that's how to inject parameters into Symfony. But actually I've got all the way up to 9 tutorials for this Symfony course. So we've got parameter injection, we have setter injection, which is tutorial 6. Tutorial 7, we've got property injection. So this is all about how to use the service, the Symfony service container. And then we've got tutorial 8, which is deprecating services. We've also got a 9th one, but that's right at the top. And I'll be talking about that in just a second. But whilst I've been doing the Symfony tutorials, I've also been working on another course. And I wasn't sure whether or not to announce this until I had all of the tutorials for that course ready. And I wasn't too sure whether or not to use something like Udemy or Skillshare to put these things on. But I just thought, why don't I put this on to Patreon? So what I've been working on is Python. So I have 9 Python tutorials in this Python for Beginners course, all the way from installation, all the way up to the difference between tuples, dictionaries, lists, that kind of thing. At the moment, there's only 9. I say only 9. It has taken me a long time to produce this. I want this course to go all the way up to about 20 tutorials. Now, this I'm obviously still doing the Symfony tutorial stuff, so I won't be releasing this at all to any kind of public domain, I don't think, until the Symfony services are out, or at least not onto YouTube. So I might push this to another sort of Udemy type thing if I decide not to go with YouTube, but they are all available on Patreon. So we have Python for Beginners tutorial installation. So this is installing Python 3.5 on Ubuntu. So I was actually using a Docker machine for this whole course. I don't talk about Docker in the course at all, but I was using a Docker machine or a Docker container to go through all of this stuff. So after that, we have the Python interpreter. So this is me talking about how to use the actual command line of Python. And then after that, we have all about code formatting. So with Python, it's very different from other languages. There are all sorts of things that you need to be aware of when creating some Python code. It uses indentation, for instance, and other bits and pieces like that to read the code and to know whereabouts in the code this process is running and all of that kind of stuff. So code formatting is that tutorial. After this, we have scripting. So this is actually creating a Python file and running that. So I talk about how to do that against the Ubuntu system. However, I do also talk about Windows in this too. This course isn't specifically just for Ubuntu or Debian or Linux. You can use this in Windows as well. After that, we talk about Python variables. So how to create variables, assign variables to their values, how to use the object-ness of Python to manipulate and access and alter variables or values of variables and so forth. After this, we then talk about tuples, lists, and dictionaries. So these tutorials, they are between 10 and 20 minutes long, each of them. So there's about probably, I haven't really worked it out, but there's probably over 2 hours worth of content to just work on the foundations of Python. This one is actually a fairly large tutorial. If you know, as you can probably imagine, there's 3 things going on here: tuples, lists, and dictionaries. After this, we're talking about Python comments. So the different types of styles of comments that you can have in Python and how to comment out code and so forth. This one, I should say, we move away from the command line and we go straight into an IDE, which is PyCharm. So I also talk about using that as a way of coding Python. Then after this one, we do a deep dive into Python strings. So this is like I said, this is a very beginner entry level 101 Python course. So this is specifically for strings. And also we have one specifically for numbers. So this is talking about the 4 different types of numbers that you can have in Python. And how we can manipulate those as well. And again, with the strings tutorial, it's all about how to manipulate strings, how to find substrings within the string, how to find the length of the string, how to change the format of the output. So when you're dealing with the standard output, how to uppercase, lowercase, capitalize, that kind of jazz. With the numbers, though, it's more sort of like these are the different types of numbers. So we've got longs, we've got complex, we've got integers and floats and all of that goodness. And then really after that, that's kind of where I've left the course. And I do have a whole list of other things that I would like to put into this course. Like I said, I want this to be 20 plus videos ideally, because I think there is a lot on Python that is that we just need to cover in order to talk about some of the advanced stuff of Python. I like to talk about languages over frameworks first of all. I mean, even though I've got a whole Symfony services tutorial, I have done a lot of PHP as a background. So those PHP tutorials, those basic PHP tutorials, are already on YouTube. And up here we can see that we have the private services for the Symfony. So that's the 9th tutorial. So this is talking about how to set your services in Symfony to be private and what on earth that does. So yeah, I have basically got a 9 tutorial series of Python for beginners. It's extremely, like I said, 101, user-friendly. If you're new to Python, I basically start from square one and go all the way up to talking about strings and tuples and dictionaries. I would like to go further. With the PHP stuff, what I did is I split that up into small little courses. So I had control flows, and this is something that I want to implement within this course, is control flows within Python, talking about for loops and while loops and if statements and all of that goodness in Python. All of these kind of beginner type things I want to focus on, and then I want to push on to something slightly more advanced like objects and classes in Python and also more advanced things in terms of manipulating strings or using strings within an application. As you can probably tell, this beginner stuff is very sort of like hello world type sort of scenario, in the sense that, you know, this is how you create a string, this is how you create a number, this is what you can do with it, and that kind of stuff. And then later on, what I would like to do is talk about, well, we know all of the foundation stuff now, so now let's go ahead and build ourselves an application. And I've got ideas and plans for those kind of things. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to probably batch all of this stuff up, like I've done already. So I'm going to just suddenly drop the next 10 tutorials as soon as they're ready. Normally what I do with tutorials on YouTube is I release one every Tuesday, and we're going to be releasing the Symphony tutorial, the fifth one, today. But with this Python course, what I want to do is actually have it more of a course rather than a set of little tutorials. I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to release this to the wild yet, but it certainly won't be released publicly for a good few months. So if you guys want to jump on and learn this tutorial, if you want to talk to me as well, then do join Patreon. You also get access to the Discord server as well. So there's a coding help channel there, and there's also a code review channel there where I and other developers access and will be able to give you advice and stuff like that. There's also a newsletter as well when you're a Patreon, and also just my general thanks, because you certainly do help out the channel. But that's basically all I wanted to say about the Python course and the PHP services tutorials. They're all now up on to Patreon, and they're all available. I will talk about the talk that I gave at PHP Southwest soon. However, like I said, I've got the freelance month thing going on in April, so I'm going to probably wait until that's finished, and then I just go back to the usual routine, which is a Tuesday tutorial, which is the Symphony services, and then the Friday show. So once that's sort of in place, I'll then talk about the talks and what I spoke about in terms of whether or not to use a framework, and that was also recorded as well. So when that is available, I will let you guys know. But as always, thanks ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers, bye.